Hi, this is Shauna, the CEO and founder of Fuel Talent. In January 2019, we launched the What Fuels You podcast, and since that time, I have had the honor of featuring and highlighting leaders and their incredible stories. Though I'm eager to continue sharing these stories with you, I want to make space for different and relevant content for this unique and challenging time. While we all navigate the COVID-19 pandemic together, on this podcast and the upcoming ones, I'll be having more focused conversations with leaders to help answer questions, get key insights, and share stories of inspiration around how they and their teams are adapting during this new reality. I hope you enjoy these episodes of the What Fuels You podcast. Today on the What Fuels You podcast, I'm talking with Sari Davidson, founder and CEO of BooginHead. Sari launched BooginHead, a baby accessories company, at her kitchen table in 2005 after not being able to find what she needed to keep her young son's sippy cup from constantly hitting the floor. Sari juggled working full-time in HR and recruiting in Microsoft and BooginHead for 3 years before making it her full-time endeavor. She and her team continue to innovate and bring new products to market, including their recent edition of masks made of fabric from their best-selling bandana teether bibs. Sari's been named one of Fortune magazine's most powerful women entrepreneurs and recently one of the Innovators of the Year by Puget Sound Business Journal. Sari is a mom of 2 boys and an incredible member of this community and a friend. Welcome, Sari. Yay, good to see you.
Thank you. Yes.
Holy smokes, it's been a long time.
And you and I have known each other a long time, my friend.
A very long time. I know, it's crazy. And we were talking right before this, as you know, like with the podcast, I'm normally doing these talks and kind of going there. And really, I still do want to go there, but it is this very raw day.
Yes.
Monday, what are we?
Very heavy.
Monday, June 1st. The combination of just having this talk during COVID and quarantine and being on video when we've been talking about doing this for months.
I know. Before all this hit, I was supposed to come in the studio.
Studio. So now that we're doing this and talking through COVID, and then over the weekend with the riots breaking out, it's just been a really emotional morning, I know, for both of us, leading teams and being moms, and it's crazy times. And we will get to that. But before we get to that, I do want to know just about your entrepreneurial journey. I know a little bit about it, but like how did you got this idea? Because most people would just say, oh, sorry, I can't find that. But
right.
Did you always know you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
No. So I actually grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. Pretty much everyone in my immediate household has been an entrepreneur at one point or another. And my mom started a business, a bookstore, actually, this is before Amazon, when I was 14, and worked 7 days a week. And my dad worked as well and was successful in his own right. But my mom's company is really what financially put me through college. And my dad works for himself now. And I actually resisted it for a really long time. Why
did you resist it? Did you have, because I've shared on podcasts or different talks that I've done, why I also took a long time. I had my own insecurities around it, but why did you resist it?
I think that for me in my personal life, I'm extremely conservative when it comes to money, and I'm risk averse in a lot of places in my personal life. And when you're an entrepreneur, you have to take those big risks and in every facet. And I think that really scared me. And also watching my parents go through it and the sort of the ups and downs with it. And I resisted sales also, being in sales. And it wasn't until actually I was a recruiter on 100% commission, which is the company we both worked at, that I really realized that I liked that feeling, and that in some ways that sort of adrenaline and having control over my own destiny. And that was really when I started to go, okay, I think that I could absolutely work for myself. And my very first company was actually a small recruiting company.
Yeah.
And so when I had the idea for a product in 2005, I think that also in some ways being an entrepreneur is in your blood. And I always like to refer to it like a sickness. It's like this sickness that you can't not do. So when I was working for other people, I always had these ideas and things that I wanted to go do on my own. And, maybe part of that is that sort of control aspect of wanting to sort of, make my own destiny and my own success. But when I had a product in 2005, it honestly didn't even occur to me to just not do anything about it. For me, it was like, of course I'm going to try and make something.
But walk me through that, because obviously I've started my own company too, but starting a services business and starting a product business are two different things, especially if you're like, I don't even know where to begin. Like the sourcing, the manufacturing, the design. Like, what did you do in those early days, and how did you know what you were doing?
So I didn't. Ignorance is bliss. And even in the early days in 2005, I was living in California. I was working for another recruiting company at the time. And in those days, it really was just this little small hobby thing. I had this website and what have you. It wasn't until I was recruited by Microsoft to move to here, to Seattle. And it wasn't until I was at Microsoft working in the entertainment and devices group, specifically working with hardware, where I was seeing things made from nothing to, these massive launches, where I felt like it was a year after joining them that I really got that itch and that spark to do something again. So in some ways I was exposed to every day these unbelievable mentors that were doing this on this massive scale. And I kind of call it like my MBA in bringing a product to market. And I disclosed what I was doing. And basically what would happen is I would be having these one-on-one meetings with these sort of really high level folks at Microsoft, specifically in the hardware group. And they would sort of turn the conversation and be asking me about what I was doing and guiding me and advising me. And so although I had zero background in anything related to product or marketing or bringing a product to market, thank goodness for the internet, because that's where I got a lot of my the contacts and the information. And then I did have these people, these mentors really sort of encouraging me and guiding me through the process. And in the end, they were actually the ones that said, Sari, your business, what you're doing by yourself in your off time after 5 p.m. and on weekends is $1 million company already. You're already doing $1 million in revenue. Why are you still here?
Yeah, they were the ones
to give It's time.
Tell me about that very first product. The very first product was a sippy cup that had
it was a sippy grip. So essentially, and I'm in my home office because of COVID, so I don't have my products around me. But essentially, it was a very simple item. It was a leash for a sippy cup or a toy.
Because you had your son throwing his sippy cup.
Constantly throwing the sippy cup. He's in the stroller and we're out for exercise or what have you. Or it sort of became this cup throwing game. Like, okay, how many times can I throw the cup and watch mom pick it up? And so I literally went to Target, bought an $80 sewing machine, went to the fabric store, got like backpack strap fabric and started sewing and passing it out to my mom group friends. It's a very simple item. By no means do I feel it was this incredible innovation, but it resonated.
Yeah, but there was a need in the market.
There was a need. It resonated with people.
And you solved a problem.
Exactly. And that is really the premise.
Needs to do. Yeah.
Correct.
So then what other products have you come out with since that time?
I would say that the product that really launched my company to what it is today and is also a large part of our sales still is our Passy Grip. It's a pacifier clip, right, for pacifiers. It's not an innovation, but we were the very first to innovate that to create a loop on the end so it could thread through the holes of the pacifier, because some of the most popular pacifiers don't have these sort of rings on it that you can attach something onto. And Soothie pacifiers were given in hospitals. And that, when we launched that in Babies R Us, that is when, the company just took off. Yeah. And so you'll see a lot of our products are within that same family. They are universal pacifier holders in some way, with plush items, our Passy Pals, or we have a Passy Grip bib that has a loop on the end so that they can wear their bib and use their pacifier. So we really built upon that and expanding into other areas, but it's really been the premise of what I've built my company on.
And how did you get into some of these larger retailers?
Oh, good story, actually. I mean, I've always been relentless when I want something. That has sometimes not served me well in life. It holds me back from accepting things, accepting maybe things aren't going to happen or what have you, because I always feel like I can find a way. I simply found the assistant to the buyer on LinkedIn, and from our old recruiting days of making friends with the receptionist or the gatekeeper, I learned that that is how you get to the right people. And so that's
Yeah.
what I did. And she really was a champion for us and basically hand delivered our products to the buyer. And that's how I got into Walmart. And with Babies R Us, I initially, years ago, I was in Target for this parent invented products program. They discovered me at my first trade show. They put you on the shelf as parent invented products, brand new newbie items. And I basically took those sales and found the buyer at Babies R Us, who I'm still friends with today, even though they're still not in business, and said, hey, look at my sales in Target. Don't you want that too? I was on maternity leave with my youngest son from Microsoft when I got the news that we were picked up by Babies R Us. So
Wow.
a lot of those early years was me being the salesperson and the CEO. But it really, my background in recruiting has really served me well, because I've really hired people that are smarter than me to go and do what I know I can't. And once I hired my director of sales, she really took my company to a whole other level. And I realized, oh God, I really had no idea what I was doing. I was just sort of, contacting people and giving information or what have you. But once then I got to the point where I could hire people that really knew what they were doing, that's when things really started to move.
Yeah. And what are your goals now? And how has COVID-19, I guess your business is a little bit sheltered in people are still having babies, or has it impacted it negatively?
So the good news is I do think there are going to be a lot of babies born in
Yeah, everybody's
9
at
months.
home.
But we are not sheltered in the fact that we were not heavy in e-commerce. And a majority of our sales are people walking into stores and seeing our item and having it be an impulse buy item. So
Where
if
is
people,
it? Where is it on the shelf? Is it right in the passy section, or is it at like the checkout?
so the checkout are, promotions that we
I
get
can
to
see that
do.
just being like
Yes.
oh my gosh, yes, like at
Yes. Oh,
Sephora.
my pacifier just dropped to the floor. So our largest retailers are Walmart and Target, followed by Bye Bye Baby and Amazon. Those are our biggest retailers, but we are in other retails across the country and globally. But what you have to consider during COVID, especially during a time that's so unprecedented, you don't have any history to go off of like, oh, when we had a recession
Here's the
in
playbook. Yeah.
2008, like this is what happened, so we can forecast for it. So if people are quarantined, they're not going out to the store, to Target or Walmart. And so, obviously the sales are going to be down. So then and a lot of those large retailers that were remaining open in the beginning were only purchasing essential items, right? And so, I've done probably I did like 3 forecasts within the first 10 days, just trying to figure out what my worst case scenario would be if I needed to furlough people. I mean, in the beginning, it was really touch and go. We weren't getting orders from our retailers. Things have started to pick back up. But what I actually did was, we had been wanting to really implement e-commerce strategy. We really knew we needed to build the company in that way. And what it did is it actually forced me, I doubled down. I actually took the money that I had and I said, okay, it's a risk that I'm spending money right now that maybe others would consider to be
like a safety net.
Yeah, a safety net, or something that would be like extras, in the marketing and the PR and so forth. And we immediately doubled down on our e-commerce strategy within our PR and our marketing and influencer campaigns and SEO optimization and all of those things that we knew we needed to do. And it's really paid off for us because
Oh yeah, I can see the Instagram just being your perfect target. I mean,
yeah,
absolutely done and done. Everybody's doing this e-commerce shopping and
yes,
oh
yeah.
yeah, that's super, super smart.
But it has significantly impacted our business in the sense that, when you have a vision of we were going to have, at least $1 million growth this year. We had $1 million growth last year. And yeah, I've been at this over 12 years. And so we were really in our sweet spot this year. I mean, we were at really the best the company's ever been. And within a matter of days, you're making forecasts that are millions of dollars less than that. And personally, it's a tough pill to swallow, but I'm actually pretty proud of myself and my team because we kind of accepted it really quickly
Mhm.
and we just went into mobilize mode.
Yeah.
And the forecast is different. It is very different than what we thought it would be, but I'm extremely grateful and proud that we are actually doing pretty well. And I know we're going to come through it and we're going to grow back up to where we were, but we've actually gained new customers and new areas of sales we wouldn't have had before. So
And different new channels, all
new
of it. Yeah.
channels,
That's
definitely
great.
new channels. Yeah.
That's awesome. And so which of your kind of personal attributes have you tapped into the most right now as a leader? Because it is tough and those first
Very
few,
tough.
I'm a great crisis leader, I'm doing great. And then you kind of week after week, how do you keep your team motivated? And yes, you've got a family and this incredible culture, but when you're not touching, feeling,
Yeah.
seeing each other,
Yes. So it's actually been very difficult for us. I think that the first month, we were feeling like we were pretty set up for success for working from home because we had the technology already built in. My creative director's in Arizona, and so we communicate with her via video all the time. We do morning huddles every morning at 10 a.m. But I've definitely seen within the last month communication breakdowns, and I think it's wearing on everyone because we are such a collaborative office. I have 7 employees, 6 of which are in an office in Issaquah. We all touch each other and we're not siloed in any sense. And so just having a morning huddle for a half an hour at 10 a.m. is great, but it doesn't solve all that collaboration we're used to.
sure.
And also the personal strain. I mean, we have people whose significant others are not working, who have been laid off or furloughed or afraid that their jobs are going away. We actually had furloughed, but very quickly were able to bring them back. And I think that, what I have tried to relay to my team over and over again is, yeah, we were working and this is a priority, but our family is a priority. Our mental health is a priority. I mean, every day that the sun comes out, I say on my morning huddle, it is imperative you get outside today. Do not be sitting at your desk all day. Take the kids for a bike ride. Go for a walk, what have you. We're all homeschooling. It's
Mhm.
incredibly difficult to homeschool. I mean, I don't have my kids this week, but normally Charlie, my youngest, will be coming in all the time during video calls. So I think having empathy for the fact that although it's my business and so it's one of the most important things in my life next to my family, it's not the most important thing right now. It just isn't.
Mhm.
And giving people the freedom, what I've said to them is we have to find our new normal within this working environment and know that we all may not be working the same hours anymore because that doesn't work for our personal life and our lifestyle because we don't know when we're going to be back in the office. And so just giving grace to all of
Mhm.
that. And my company, because it's so small, we are really like a family. We know everything about each other, our personal lives, our children. We really kind of wear our heart on our sleeve. And so in some ways that's been really good because we're not trying to put on a face and be like, everything's great.
Yeah.
What's going on in our business today? It's,
Yeah.
oh my God, did you see what happened on the news last night?
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. And I'm sure it makes people feel very safe. And it's no surprise to me that you've built that type of culture because it it starts with you, and you're
Thank
probably
you.
giving them that, that platform to feel
Yeah.
like they can be themselves wholly and that there's no judgment. But balancing that with, hey, at the end of the day, we've got results, we've got,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah, it's true. You have to do that. And, I'm lucky in the fact that everyone that works for me is truly invested in the company, but they also know that their jobs depend on us doing well too. And so I think they're fully committed to that. We're all making it work the best we can. So.
yeah, I'm sure that you're doing great. And so when did your team decide to pivot, and where do you manufacture the goods?
So this is actually a good story. This shows you how I can be influenced by my team. So I actually came up with the idea 3 weeks prior to us even doing anything about it. I started sort of like putting out information to my team about masks. So we do teether bibs, and we have over probably 10 different patterns and styles that we design in-house. So it's our fabric. And when you do something like that, you naturally have leftover fabric because you have to have it printed at a certain amount. We had just paid for all of that leftover fabric that's sitting in the factory in China that we were trying to figure out what to do with that fabric. And so I had gone to my team and suggested masks, and this was early on, and they were like, well, nobody's going to be wearing masks. So this is a horrible idea. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm the only one who thinks this is a great idea, but because we're very collaborative. And then I was like, listen, guys, I really believe in this. I think we're going to do this. And everyone really got on board. And thankfully, our factory in China already had a blueprint of how to do this. And so we very quickly mobilized and got samples and figured out which patterns we were going to do. And the great news about the fabrics that we're using is that it's actually the best material you can use for masks in terms of it being breathable. B, it had already been safety tested for use with babies. And so they're incredibly soft, and the ear loops are incredibly soft. And C, we test all of our products, period, the end, under US standards. So we actually just completed testing for the new woven mask, non-medical mask standards in the US. And I feel really good about that. And that's important for me because I just know, just being in this world, that a majority of what you're seeing online of what people are buying, like ships today or what have you, could be made in someone's garage. You don't know how that fabric's been treated or what's going on with that. Like, I know in my heart that what people are putting up against their nose and their mouth and their face that they're breathing has been tested for every chemical under the sun to know that it's safe. And we have an incredibly good partnership with our manufacturing facility, and we got it to market in probably the fastest I've ever been able to do it.
That's fantastic. And where are you selling them?
So right now we're just selling them on our website.
So BooginHead.com.
BooginHead.com. It does say pre-order right now, but that's only because the goods are in transit. We've started shipping out last week, and we're going to be doing the remainder of the pre-order shipments this week. But that will switch over to live pretty soon.
That's so exciting. How much are they?
So they are 2 for $19.99 for adults, and a 2-pack youth is $17.99, which we felt was very reasonable.
I have not seen youth yet. So because my daughter we've bought some for the house, and she's like, I can't keep it on. So that's actually really helpful to know.
Yes.
Okay. So I will order some of those.
Yay.
BooginHead. That's awesome. And so, so you mentioned that your team is normally in Issaquah, right?
Correct. Yes.
So they're obviously working from home.
Yes.
What about the goods? Are you worried about, do you have a storefront? Like, are you worried with all the stuff that happened over the weekend?
Yes. So my phone is buzzing like crazy right now because I'm in touch with the Issaquah Chamber to see if they've heard any rumblings. And basically, when I get off the phone with you, I'm going to go to my storefront and at least put construction paper up. I mean, it's incredible.
Because of the riots that happened this weekend and protesting in Issaquah?
There have been some peaceful protests, and we're getting word that that might escalate today. And at the end of the day, there isn't that much I can do other than, hope that people want to support their community in other ways and have more peaceful protests. And I've put it out to my Facebook friends and may call your husband to help, potentially board up my storefront, which is terrifying and sad. But that's the best I can do right now. All of my goods, thankfully, like all of my inventory is in a very large warehouse in the Kent area. But my storefront is a small boutique, but it also houses all of our office, our desks, our computer, all of that. And I worked really hard to make that office feel like home, and it would be devastating for it to get vandalized, for sure.
Well, let's send some good juju and hope that does not happen.
Thank you.
Sending you all sorts of good happiness. And how are you personally dealing, I guess, with your own mental health and your own sanity during this time? Because obviously you're leading your children, you're leading your team, and like they say, put your own mask on first. How are you quarantining?
So one of the things that's worked well for me in quarantining, I think the beginning was really hard, also being single and, not having my kids, sort of that first week where I didn't have my kids and I was just like alone in my house and everybody was really quarantined and people weren't even going out to the grocery store or what have you. That was pretty rough. I also am sort of a heart on my sleeve sort of person. I don't hide things well. I talk about things when they upset me, and I've really had to learn to sort of rein that in a bit, especially when you're leading other people, because you need to come from a place of strength. It's gotten a lot better. Exercise for me has always been a really important outlet. And so I have really fallen into a routine where it's just, that is a part of every day. And I've come into a place where I just have more structure of I'm doing certain things every day around the same times, and the same thing with my kids. The homeschooling has been incredibly difficult because I don't know how to do their math, like that's,
are you kidding?
That's so above, that's like so above my pay rate, but I've had to let go a lot when it comes to their grades and schooling or what have you. My oldest is actually doing pretty well online, but I've come to a place of acceptance of this is where we are. The switch isn't going to flip and all of a sudden our kids are going to be going to camps and I'm going to be back in the office full time. And I think that getting to that point and creating real structure in my day has been really good for my mental health. And I also have this unbelievable community around me, not just of people like you that I know that are going through the same thing, but literally the neighborhood I live in is incredibly tight knit.
I love your neighborhood.
Thank you. And this, we've been in this house less than a year, but it is truly like really home for us. And so the people in our community, we've really all been very quarantined together. And so having that and having connection with them just right out my front door has been massively helpful. So
is there anything that you will take with you from this period of time that you hope will stay? Like for me, the slowing down.
Yeah.
And the kind of, I'm still a little bit, I think with just these type A people are like, am I quarantining well enough? Like I'm not doing my sourdough and like I haven't done, whatever. I'm kind of kidding. But
I am
like,
so not cooking all the things that I thought I would be cooking. But
I'm kind of kidding, but I'm just saying there's a lot of pressure that we put on ourselves to make the most of this time and connect with old college friends, whatever it is.
Well, I'm very zoomed out. I'll tell you that in terms of like the happy hours and the what have you. I'm pretty zoomed out on that. I think the thing I will take from this time is, for me, the appreciation of being okay being by yourself and sitting on my back deck when the sun comes out and not being connected to a device and listening to my pond and just being. I'm not really used to just being. I'm doing all the time. I'm constantly
It's so funny.
doing.
I've been saying that as my, like when people are like, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm realizing I like to do, and just being is an adjustment, and it's uncomfortable. And the
It was
combination
uncomfortable.
of being uncomfortable with COVID, uncomfortable with the racism conversation,
Yes.
uncomfortable with how to lead right now. There's a whole lot of discomfort, and that creates anxiety and
Yes.
creates a whole other set of things. So this is a real conversation around mental health and just kind of really taking care of yourself and
your kids.
And your kids.
And kids that maybe don't, we don't actually really know how this is affecting them. And I've got 2 boys, and boys naturally are not as vocal about how they're feeling, especially a 16-year-old boy. But it's actually created opportunities where we've gotten a lot of practice driving in. And when you're in the car and you're driving, they actually talk to you. And family nights, lots of Uno championships happening in my household. Whereas normally my teenager would be definitely out doing something social. But I think for me personally, the thing where I've actually grown the most is, by nature, I am type A. I am control freak sort of person. And when I don't have the control, I tend to get anxious and spin and things like that. And I've actually been able to come to places of acceptance and removing fear a lot faster than I thought I would go. I would normally be the person that would just be so terrified of just COVID in general that would stop me from being able to do other things or what have you. Yeah. And just the acceptance of not knowing what's going to happen and being like, I need to get through today.
Yeah. Which is a little bit more in that mindset of like your yoga side, which is like trusting in the universe and connecting with that.
I'm a big yoga person. I've perfected, by the way, hot yoga by turning my fireplace on and doing yoga next to my fireplace.
Oh, good move. Look at you innovating. That's funny. David's like, I miss hot yoga. I'm like, well, then just do yoga. He's like, no, I miss hot yoga. I'm like, now I'll tell him.
All about the fireplace.
Okay, well, I'll be leaving during that. So you guys have fun with that. You guys can FaceTime. Well, I'm so glad to see you. I really miss you. And I want to give you a real hug. I might just have to when I see you, but
I would love it. I would love it.
I know. I am realizing like the hugging part I'm missing. Like I'm a hugger.
I am a very affectionate person. I'm one of those people that just like touches people on the arm when they talk.
Yeah.
And, having, again, 2 boys that aren't full on cuddle bugs. That was a really tough part for me too. But I will say my neighborhood friends and I, we do hug.
Cuddling.
We hug.
On that note, we'll stay safe. I'm sending you all sorts of love and hugs, and thank you. And sorry for the weird technical snafus.
No worries.
People are more patient these days, I guess. Sending love, honey.
You too. Okay.
Bye. Thank you for listening to the What Fuels You podcast. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes, Google Podcasts, or Spotify, and follow us on social media to keep up with the latest news and episodes. You can also contact us at podcast@fueltalent.com to provide feedback, ask questions, and share topics or guests you would like us to cover in the future. We hope you feel inspired by our guests and that we have helped fuel your day. Join us next time for another episode of What Fuels You.